folks, my name's Janet. I work for the Cook Grow Soul project from Wesrick, and I'm going to do a wee bit of zero waste cooking with you today. Zero waste cooking is basically what it says. It's cooking things but trying to waste as little as possible, and if possible not chuck anything out at all. So that is using every part of the food if you can, and also cutting down on packaging too. So we're going to spend today looking at bread, the amount of bread that we chuck out and ways that we can prevent that, because in the UK we throw away 20 million slices of bread every single day. A lot of people just chuck out the end bits without even thinking. But when you throw away food, what it does is when it rots down, it produces methane gas, and that's actually 25 times more harmful to the environment than carbon dioxide. So yeah, we want to try and cut down that, and there are loads of good recipes that you can use to do that. So today we're going to start with making masala spiced French toast, and that's really good for your wee endy bits, or just any bread. It's especially good if your bread's a wee bit stale. Then we're going to have a go at the recipe calls them churros. They're not actually, it's a wee bit of a cheat, but they still taste really good. And then I'm just going to do sort of half a recipe really, but it's if you have a loaf that's gone a bit stale of white bread, you can make panko breadcrumbs really quite easily, and they taste really good, and it saves buying them from the shop, saves all that packaging, all that, because they've come a long way, they've travelled a long way. So that's gonna cut down on a lot of pollution from the journey. So yeah, make your own panko breadcrumbs as well, and you can use that for sort of coating chicken and putting on top of macaroni cheese, whatever you like. So yeah, I'll get started. So I've just boiled the kettle. Now I'm going to make a wee easy chutney to go with the French toast, the masala spiced French toast. So I'm just going to start with that. In here, it looks like an awful lot, but it'll boil down a wee bit. I have a big bunch of coriander and a big bunch of flat leaf parsley. Let's just get this lit. Put the water in. So we just want to boil this for a couple of minutes. Here we are. And then that's just to soften the stalks a wee bit, because obviously we don't want to waste anything, so we're going to use the stalks and all. And then I'll put a bit of water in here, because we're going to take it off the boil in a wee minute and put it straight into some ice water. So let's do that. Water. Excuse me a minute. And I'm back in the room. So that should be enough, I reckon. Let's just take this off, give it a wee drain. You don't want to cook them, you just want to blanch them a wee bit. There we go. And then the ice water will just stop that cooking process. Oh, it's not quite deep enough. Better. So that's that. Dead easy. Now, whoops. Let's just dry it off a wee bit. A bit of water out of that. You want to get as much water out as possible. You don't want watery chutney. All right. Now, if you have a food processor, you can use that, obviously. I'm just going to do it without because it's actually really quick and easy. So over here. So we just want to roughly chop like so. Bigger knife than that. Oh, knife needs sharpened, never mind. Yeah, so just roughly, you can see how much softer the stems are now. And then in here, a wee pestle and mortar. A bit too wee for doing all this at the one time actually. But inside it, I've got a wee chopped up chilli. I'm going to put a bit of salt. Just like that much. And squeeze a lime, about half a lime. So put as much as I can get in there without it overflowing, I think. It will mush down. And half a lime. This is a half a lime that was already used for something else, so that's quite handy. Might have gone to waste otherwise. Get all the juice out of it. Almost there. While I'm doing this, I'll just light this gas. Stick the pan on. Water. Right. And basically, just want to rumble this up. Mush it up, mush it up. If you don't have a pestle mortar, obviously you can do it in a food processor or you can chop it by hand. Whatever way you find easiest will work. You just want to get it nice and small and nice and mashed up, because the more you mash it, the more the flavours sort of incorporate with each other. It tastes good. Oops. I'll finish that off later. Yeah, finish that off in a bit. Meantime, you've probably all had French toast before, but this time we're going to make it interesting. So let's just a couple of eggs. You'll notice I don't do it one-handed. Definitely not when I'm being recorded anyway. A wee slip of milk for each egg. Oops. And then we have here garam masala, turmeric, and hot chili powder. So just half a teaspoon of each one. Teaspoon. Bit over, but that's okay. Oh, come on. Oops. Fair enough. Some turmeric. And then we just beat that up. We'll just do it. So already it's more colourful than usual. Pepper in it as well, and a bit of salt. There's the salt in here. Salt. Pepper. Let's mix that on. Yeah, so that's sort of medium. Don't want it too hot. I'm just going to jug because it's easier to beat up. Then we just pour it out. And you probably know this part. Just take a plate. A good one, just a plate that's sort of got a bit of a dip to it. And hopefully this will just pour in there, yep. Don't want to waste any of that. Cool. And we can soak the bread in. I'm using bread that's been kicking about for a while. This is an endy bit as well. I am guilty of chucking these out sometimes or leaving them sitting about until they go a bit hard. I do freeze my bread though too, so it's always a handy thing to just stick your bread in the freezer. I tend to keep a loaf out for maybe a couple of days and then stick it in the freezer because I live on my own anyway, so it's always a good thing to do. So you want to leave it in there for a wee minute to soak up, but not too long. And then we'll put a wee bit of oil just so the butter doesn't burn. go. Don't want it too greasy. And a wee bit of butter. There we are. Turn that down. Butter everywhere. And that's this. Ready to go. Just do that on the other side. It won't soak up so much on the heely side. So there's one. Look at the colour of that. Good, isn't it? There we are. One. Put the next one in. While I'm waiting for that, I could maybe smash this up a bit more. Smells good. It won't take long to cook at all. First one's always just a trial. Just turn that over and it's looking. Make sure you get the edges of it too. Squish it down. The more stale it is, the thirstier it'll be, so it'll soak up quite fast. There we are. Oh, that's a good colour. Oops. Let's get a plate for this. Oh, I'd love a frying pan that was just big enough for 2 bits of bread side by side, but never seen one. There we go. So that looks pretty good. See, there's the first one there, and then we can pretty that up. Just wash my hands a wee bit. Oh, it's smoky in here already. Oops. Oh, beautiful. So, let's just cut it triangle ways. There we go. We could chop. Oh, I did have a couple of wee bits of chili. I'm going to just take another one. Quickly cut it up. Garnish there. Oh. Let's just be ready. Almost. Mm, that's good. Okay, so let's cut this as well. There we go. Spoon. So we cut it up a wee bit finer, but never mind. There you are. So that's masala spiced French toast with a little bit of very quick chutney. Okay, so that is the first thing, and I'll eat that in a wee minute. It's hungry now. So now we are going to do the churros. And a wee white. So, smoke. There you go. Over this, just clear space a wee bit. So, pudding. Right. What we need is butter melting in a pan. So 100 grams of butter to start with. And more. 100 grams. Don't need to look at it. We can tell what 100 grams is. It's about there. Nice and half. I've got a few wee bits of cream on the butter, but that's fine. There we go. Put that in there. Let that melt a bit. And what we want to do is, once that's melted, we can add some vanilla essence. But in the meantime, I'll cut my toast up into soldiers, which make the basis of the churros. So I'm going to use these endy bits of white bread because this won't point stale. And so what I've done is the panko breadcrumbs. I'll tell you about them after this. But I've used the middle of the loaf for them. So I'm going to make these into the soldiers for the churros. These are using the whole thing up. So, okay. See there, too far over. Let's see. Get myself back in the picture a bit. Yeah. There they are. These are close. Melting. So it's making a wee bit thin, but we'll see. So you can use white or brown bread with these. Doesn't matter which. Don't want the farming. No. there you are. That's our wee toasty soldiers ready. Go in. That's the butter melted. So, vanilla essence. We want 2 teaspoons of this. I think I'll use a different teaspoon. We don't want to get spices on in it. With some nice vanilla butter. Like that one, so it doesn't fall over and go everywhere. And then we need some sugar, and I'll put it in shallow bowl. A bowl like this, so kind of shallow bowl type thing. And we want 75 grams of sugar. So we'll go with that scale. Could have had this weighed out beforehand, but that would have been far too organised. And it only takes a minute. We'll just stir them. So just ordinary white sugar stuff. 75 grams. This is what you coat them in. 74. Oh. It's not much in that last area. Oh, now we're 76, never mind. And we mix in how much? 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. I like things quite cinnamony, so we'll heat them up. That's it. Just mix it round. Like that. And we have cinnamon sugar. Smells good. So, so the oven heats up fairly quickly. So you want the oven at 200 degrees, and what we do is we just get our butter and vanilla mixture, and you just want to coat these things. So you can either dip them in or do what I'm going to do, just pour the stuff over, because you want them to be soaking in it. Just kind of like making French toast, but with butter, really. So there we go, that's that poured over. Let's just get them nice and even now. Just turn them all over so as they're coated right the way over and soaking the stuff up. Oh, this is going to be good. But it's starting to break up a wee bit, but that's okay. Still tastes the same. And again, stale bread is good for, best for soaking things up. So the more stale it is, the deeper your butter's going to be in the bread. Not the healthiest thing, this, but it's good for a treat. once in a while. And actually for the amount of bread, no, it is still quite a lot. But it's all good, it's a pudding. There we are. Nearly there. That looks brilliant. So now we have our wee soldiers. What's this? Just going to put them in the oven like that for 6 minutes per side. Oven. There we are. Right, let's set this timer. Right, when you come out, we'll toss them in this. Meanwhile, I've got a wee sauce to make. Oh. My hands are a wee wash because they're all buttery. So now, let's get some cream out the fridge and make a dipping sauce. Oh, it's smoky in here. Let me open the door a wee bit. Right. So, cream, small pan. That's what we'll do. And we want to just gently heat this cream. So you want 200 mils of double cream. Double. Okay. Oops, can you see that? Yeah. So this is a 300 ml tub. But it's got wee markings on the side if we want to be exact. So we want to take it down to about there. Or I've actually got a wee bit less chocolate than the recipe says, so I've got a wee bit less cream in as well. So we want to keep an eye on that because you don't want cream to burn. And when steam starts to come off it, that's when we know that it's warm enough. We don't want it boiling at all. Chocolate. So now I have chocolate. You can use any chocolate you like. I've got dark stuff, so quite like that. It's always good in the sauce. But if you've got any lying about the house, use that obviously. The recipe I read actually says use leftover Easter egg chocolate. I don't know about you, but I never have leftover Easter egg chocolate. So I had to buy this. But it will be eaten, so that's not a worry. I've just broken it all up. Oops. Left a bit in there. I'll just do that. Oh. Recycling. break it up to quite small pieces, all about the same size. How's the cream going? Good. You can shut that door now. Right. These I'll just keep an eye on. Okay. Well, I've got a second. I might even try a bit of this. See what it's like. Oh, yeah. Definitely worth trying. It's quite spicy actually, but I did get a wee bit carried away. But yeah, brilliant. Much, much tastier than normal French toast. Just great for a change. Right. Oh, I think that's too spicy, Stephen. Yeah. Another few seconds and it should be done. Over there. Oh, and the oven's good too. Right, so let's just pour this on the chocolate now. And the cream should be hot enough just to melt the chocolate. Go. Some stir about. Oh yeah, it's melting away there. That looks good. It looks like it's separating a wee bit, don't worry. It'll come together, just keep stirring it. Now I'm really hungry. Here we go. Oh yeah, nearly there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Just a couple more wee lumps there. Show you this up close. There you go. Just eat that from the bowl. There we go. Now, hopefully these wee guys haven't burnt yet. Yeah, they're alright. Just turn them all over. In fact, I'll give them another minute on that side. No. Oh, they will be hot. Just watch your fingers. And the good thing about using the endy bits of bread is that you can tell which ones you've turned and which ones you haven't. There we go. And they are nice and crispy on the bottom side. So hopefully we get them nice and crispy on the other side. There. minutes. 6. Right. Very good for time. Right, good. 14 minutes to go. So, what I'll do is just tell you, oh, hello. I'll just tell you about the panko breadcrumbs while that stuff's in the oven. Let's just put this back up so you can see me standing up. So panko breadcrumbs are what we use for sort of Japanese katsu curry and things like that. They're sort of drier than normal breadcrumbs, and so they get less greasy, and they're absolutely brilliant for stale white bread. So really handy. They won't turn out, if you make them, they won't turn out quite like the Japanese, but they'll be nearly the same, and yeah, they'll still be lighter and fluffier than the breadcrumbs you might make normally. So yeah, well worth a shot. I grated some bread earlier. That's it there. So what I did was I used, you can do it in a food processor. I haven't bothered, I've used the hand grater, and where is it? I used the biggest, the actual sort of, on this grater I used the slicey bit, and I found that was the best. If you don't have one of them, maybe just use the biggest. But panko breadcrumbs are basically bigger and sort of flakier than the ones you might normally have. So, also if you're going out to specially make them, then maybe use, milk loaf. It's the one that's least sort of crusty. So that would be a good one to use. But if you have just white bread, then yeah, they're pretty good. These ones are maybe, some of the bits are a little bit big, but it's better too big than too wee. And all we do with that is we want to put them in the oven. Oven's being used at the moment, so I'm going to put them under the grill actually, at 150. In fact, you know what? I'll just turn this down. Turn it to, no, I won't risk that. I'll put them under the grill at 150. The top oven, that's what I'll do. Top oven, 150. And you only want to do it for about 5 minutes. All you're doing is drying things out. You don't want to actually cook them at all. You don't want them browning. So 5 minutes, give them a shake, maybe halfway through, because they want to be kind of flat. You obviously want to get them, just get the moisture out of them really. So you don't want a soggy layer on the bottom and crispy ones on the top or anything. You want to get them nice and even. Let's just shut that like that. So 5 minutes. So after 3 minutes, that timer's going to go off, and then I'll give them a shake, and we'll be there. Right. So in the meantime, I still have lots of herbs to chop up, and I won't forget about that. That'll be one of my tasks for today. And I think tonight, later on, I'm going to have katsu chicken curry, so that'll be my breadcrumbs used. But you can actually use, you can just, once the breadcrumbs are made, stick them in an airtight container, jar, something like that, mason jar, and they'll keep for a couple of months. So yeah, after they've been dehydrated, but they need to be airtight though for that to happen. So yeah, it's a really good way to use up bread. I've made a mess here, never mind. We all do it sometimes, don't we? Can't wait to eat this sauce. It's looking good. quite shiny. Right, so let's have a wee look at these. What do we do for time? 1 minute. You want to keep checking on them anyway, because you don't want things burning. Oh yeah. These are good and ready. That's our churros there. So now we want to just roll them. This is going to be very hot. Roll them about, not all at the one time, just a few at a time. Now let's get a plate for, oh, this is on. Oh. So we come out and they're still a bit buttery. And that's the finished product. And then you can just dip them in the sauce and oh, I. Oh, that's good. Right. As usual, I'm using every dish in the house, but that'll be my plate for the finished product. Now, panko breadcrumbs, I'll give them a shake. And here they sugar. And I'll put them in for another couple of minutes or until I've coated the rest of this stuff, I think. Put this down so you can see what I'm doing. That's in focus or not, but here we are. Because they're still quite buttery, the sugary cinnamon just sticks to them quite well. There we go. I mean, the other option would be to just sprinkle the sugary cinnamon all over them, but it would make a bit of a mess of the tray, I would think. So you're better just to roll them about. So that's just about us, I reckon. You get the picture with these. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to get in touch. And yeah, just the main message is whenever you're thinking about, whenever you're going to the bin, just what you're putting in the bin, what the food you're putting in the bin, just think, is there a way that I can save this? Because there are so many different things that you can do, even down to sort of having a little thing in the a little tub in the freezer where you put vegetable peelings and things, and then once it fills up, make vegetable stock with it. So there are so many, there's always, pretty much always something that you can do to avoid throwing food out, and it really will be worth it for the planet. So yeah, I hope you have fun with that, and I hope you have a shot at this recipe, because it really has been tasty. Okay, I'll go rescue my breadcrumbs now, and I'll maybe catch you next week. Okay, thanks very much. Cheerio, bye bye.